Hey y'all, it's Brutal Dan.
And it's Banana Chan. Welcome to Spooky Asian Club. Ooh.
Ooh. Spooky Asian Club is your new favorite horror podcast where we slice into the intersections of Asian stories, horror movies, pop culture, and more from our creepy little perspectives.
And in this episode, we're talking about the 2009 Indian film 13B, Fear Has a New Address, also known as Yavaram Nalam. But before we get into that, it's time to get weird.
Hey Banana, what spooked you lately?
Well, recently I went to GaryCon. And I'm not going to say that
Scary.
Gary,
Terrifying.
very terrifying. Conventions themselves are actually quite scary.
Large groupings of people that have the same shared interest, and you might have to talk to someone you don't know.
Yeah, honestly, it's honestly terrifying. Like just like social interactions in general creep me out a lot. Uh but this time around I went to a party that Titmouse was hosting, and the reason why it's scary was because it was at a house in the middle of nowhere, and they had a barn called the Blood Barn where they would play D&D. So in reality, it's actually not that scary, but in concept, it's kind of scary, I guess.
Uh, do you know the origins of why it's called the Blood Barn?
I think it's just because they play a lot of D&D games there, or they were like planning on playing a bunch of D&D games there where they're just gonna be like, I guess like players are murder hobos sometimes, so it's just like that's what they're expecting. So I think that's why it's called the Blood Bard. I didn't ask. I just assumed that murders would happen.
And you stepped into the Blood Barn. You might be cursed right now.
I could be, though I don't feel very cursed. But then again, like, would you know? Like, would you?
Exactly, you wouldn't know.
Yeah, you wouldn't know. Another thing that was kind of fun that happened during GaryCon, I say fun, but it's actually like weird and spooky, was um, we played a 15-person variant of my solo journaling game, Forgery. So we did that, and that's like a horror game that we all did, like, paint by numbers, and we're painting this creepy demon together. And so that was something that happened. And we also played Juggernaut, which was a game by Jason Morningstar. It's a LARP, where it's people who are politicians, mathematicians, scientists who are tasked with trying to figure out what to do with this machine that tells the future. So it's set in 1950, and they're just like, hey, we have this machine, we built it, it tells the future, but like, is it true? Is it not? So you as a player, you know it's true because it's like events that have already happened in like real life. But because it's 1950, you as a player, you're just like, or you as a character, you're just like, I don't know if this stuff is happening or not. So there were some moments in the deck, because it's a deck of cards that represents the machine, when they're like, when players were taking the cards, they were just like, oh my God, like this thing actually happened. Because there's one card that says something like, you will bring contraband to the room, and someone had brought stout from like their bag, and they were just like, all the players were just like,
Oh,
oh my god,
it
like it's actually
knows.
telling the truth.
That's funny.
But
Yeah.
yeah, what about you? Do you, so it's been a while, we haven't talked in a
Yeah.
while because we've been
We're catching
traveling.
up. We've been traveling, we've been going on vacation. And yeah, speaking of, so it's kind of weird because you mentioned that there's this kind of machine that tells the future. And I feel like, so I went on this cruise. It's called a Joko cruise. And I think it's been going for maybe like 12, 13, 14, 15 years now. But it's like this large nerd ran music slash podcast slash tabletop cruise. Jonathan Colton is why it's called Joko Cruise, and it's kind of like turned into this like um obviously annual thing. And I go every year. I've been the past 6 years, and I help run the tabletop uh board game library that we have on board. But when you were mentioning like, oh, you tell the future, so this was like kind of unsettling and kind of weird, and I didn't think anything of it until kind of just like now. But I had a premonition the night. So we take out of in Miami.
Mhm.
Um, we always fly in a couple days before and we have like team meetings and stuff. And I had a dream. I don't know if it was a nightmare, but now the more that I think about it, it's a little scary that we had to use the lifeboat. So, if you've never been on a cruise before, you're supposed to do like the safety check and like you should know where you go if anything were to happen. And there's these things called muster stations, and you have to muster and find like a particular number so you know which life raft to go because we've all learned what happened in Titanic. Which I will also say, an actual horror movie, that the second half of that movie is like terrifying.
Of Titanic.
Of Titanic. Yeah.
I have to rewatch
Oh,
this movie. Wait, what?
it is wild. There is gunshots. There is people pushing. There's people jumping. There's fires.
Ugh.
There's floods. There's claustrophobia. There's heartbreak. There's freezing to death. Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot of death, like in
Oh
a short period
God.
of time. Anyways, that wasn't the scary part. The scary part was that in my dream, like we did this muster drill. And then like we know, okay, here's where we go. But when we were walking there, they were like, "Oh, you need to get onto these life rafts. This is not a drill, it's an actual emergency. Everybody get on." And like they start lowering the lifeboats and people started getting in and everybody was really casual. And then all I really remember on my dream was like we're in these lifeboats and we're looking up at the cruise ship and we can also see the shore, but we're not moving at all. And everybody's just kind of like looking around at each other. So imagine just like a massive cruise ship that is now desolate with like 2,000 people in life rafts that are standing completely still.
Oh my God.
And then I wake up, and then we hadn't even taken off for the cruise yet. Now we head to the cruise. And I don't know if it's just like, oh, yeah, 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 whatever. I felt like I knew I've also been on this cruise on this particular boat, like
Mhm.
the Norwegian boat, six times already. But I feel like I knew like we were gonna be muster station 13.
Oh my God.
Uh Also 13.
13?
13B.
13B. Were you at Muster Station 13B? Fear
I,
has a new
I
address.
Fear has a new lifeboat.
Fear has a new lifeboat. Oh my God. Were you there?
But honestly, I do think like our muster station was station 13.
Okay, that's creepy.
That's creepy.
That's like
Um,
yeah, Final Destination.
I know, but we didn't have to use them, which is good. But I did feel like I knew where to go. Like we stepped outside and like our muster drill was like the fastest it's ever been because I was just like, oh yeah, this is where we go.
Because
But
you've
now that I've
experienced it already.
I've experienced it and from different angles. I've been in that lifeboat.
Oh my God.
Is that weird? I don't know if that's weird.
That is weird. So, okay, so I gotta ask. So when
Yeah.
you were there, when you were doing the drill, you
Mhm.
saw the lifeboat. Was it like the lifeboat in your dream?
I remember or like it's just like I remember that bright orange, but I don't know. I don't know if it was that exact same one. And honestly, in my dream, I don't even remember getting on the lifeboat. I just remember them saying like, "Oh, this is not an emergency." And then something happens and then we're all looking up at this like abandoned cruise ship.
What do you think your dream meant?
I don't know. Maybe maybe it was like not to be like super introspective, but it's just kind of like
That's what we're here for.
that's what we're here for. They're getting
Yeah.
deep. Maybe it's just kind of like no matter if you're having the best time on a cruise ship that has all you can eat food and all these activities, or you're on these tiny lifeboats, what really matters is that you're all doing it together. And it's like the human
Oh,
experience.
yeah. So it's not like a lonely experience because you were
Yeah.
talking about how the cruise ship was like desolate, but you
Yeah.
were in the lifeboat with all these people together.
Yeah. And it felt okay. Like it felt like, oh, if the whole cruise ship is if everybody's safe and everybody's just like
Mhm.
out here, then here's I guess this is our vacation. This is the party.
Oh, that's kind of cute though. Like that's sweet.
Yeah, but now it's kind of creepy
It's also very creepy, yeah.
because I don't know these people. Well, I knew
That's
some of them.
true. Wait, you did you know some of them in your dream?
I honestly don't remember if anybody in my dream. Um, so I went with my partner Joe and then friend of the pod Andy. Um,
Love Andy.
love Andy. But I don't
I love
remember them
Joe.
in my dream either. Um, so yeah,
Wait, so Joe and Andy weren't on the lifeboat with you?
I don't remember. I don't think so. But I knew everybody was off the boat, I think.
That's actually pretty creepy. You're just like on a lifeboat with strangers.
What if I would oh, what if I didn't even I don't know. Now it's getting to this like now I'm getting this like weird gut core feeling of
Ugh.
like how was I sh like I would now like I was talking about these like cozy feelings of like everybody's fine, everybody's whatever, but I didn't check in. Like I wasn't sure who was around me. Who are these people? Was I even on the right cruise?
Was it a false sense of security?
Yeah, where was everybody that I knew?
Yeah. Have you seen the movie Triangle? I don't know why this made me think of Triangle.
Mm, when you said triangle, I thought of Triangle of Sadness, which I saw, which was kind of funny.
That's also on a cruise ship.
Yeah. And they got abandoned, right? There was like a
I think
that was
so.
like
They
a
just
deserted
like,
island.
yeah, it was like a deserted island. Oh, it is like Triangle of Sadness, actually. Like your movie's ju or your dream is kind of like Triangle of Sadness. Um,
Crazy.
but yeah, Triangle, the movie, is from 2009. I'm like literally just looking this up right now. It's directed by Christopher Smith. And it's basically about this woman who um is like out with her friends or whatever. She's like, partying on a yacht, and then something happens where there's like a storm coming or something like that, and then they see this like giant cruise ship and they're like, oh shit, like, oh, we should board the cruise ship because, our boat's been flipped over, our yacht's been flipped over from this the storm. And so they board the cruise ship and it's completely empty. There's like no one there. And they are stalked by this killer who has, I think it's like an axe. Like there's this person with an axe that's just like going around trying to kill them. As the movie progresses, you find piles of bodies, but they're bodies of the people that are there on the ship, like the people who had just gotten off the yacht ship and onto the cruise ship. So there are duplicates of these people. And spoiler, you find out that this woman is stuck in some sort of limbo situation where she's repeating the same day over and over again because she did something bad in like a previous life. I think she like neglected her child or something, and there was um, like an accident where she died, and she ended up being stuck in this situation where every day she goes on this yacht thing with her friends. The boat turns over. She finds a cruise ship. Cruise ship's empty until she finds all these bodies, and the bodies turn out to be bodies of her and her friends. Um,
I love a time loop. Time loops are
yeah,
so interesting to me.
it's so good. I
Yeah.
love time loops. I love Triangle. Triangle is like one of my favorite movies.
I'll need to watch it, but just the idea of like the different like paths that we can take and like like one small change in a path can like lead to something dramatically different. However, maybe the end is always the same. So it's kind of like, is it a huge difference or is it not? And like we're kind of stuck in this loop. Like Happy Death Day, I love. Um,
Yes.
I thought like they did a very funny way of like playing with the time loop. And I don't know, it's just such a cool concept to play with.
What do you think? Do you think that your boat dream was like a parallel universe timeline?
Maybe, but then like was the like what was the end? Like what was did alternate timeline Danny just like what did we do? Did we just go back on shore and then like my vacation was cut short? Did we try to
Probably.
like have the cruise on these lifeboats? Like
Maybe.
also stuck in time loops, but in okay, complete aside, but have you seen Black Mirror?
Yes.
You know the episode Black Bear? Do you remember Black Bear?
Black Bear. Which one's that one?
So Black Bear, it might have been called Black Bear or White Bear or it's like a color
Something
bear.
Bear. White
Something
Bear.
bear.
It's called White
White
Bear.
bear. So White Bear is this person, they wake up and they are in a frantic state. They don't remember anything. They have amnesia and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And they're kind of disheveled and they're all dirty and they're frantically like, what the heck is going on? They're trying to find clues. They can't remember anything. And they like exit their house and they're being stalked by this person with like a bear mask on or whatever. Shotguns go off. She's running. She doesn't know what the heck is going on. She's running, yelling for help, and then people are just like videotaping her having this like reaction. And she's like, "What's going on? Like, why aren't you helping me? Like, please help. Someone's trying to kill me." And everybody's just very casual, just like not talking and just like filming with their phone.
Oh my God.
And again, spoiler alert coming up, but you figure out, so at the very end, she thinks she's about to die. This murderer, this person with a shotgun bear mask is about to shoot her or something. Um, and then she gets injected with something and then she passes out. The thing is like so it's kind of like a time loop or a story loop, but in this dystopian future, she was a criminal or she did something bad. And this was like deemed bad by society at large. So she, as a criminal, is now put into a place where her terror is someone else's entertainment. So she relives this like terrifying murder spree with and you're in this theme park where you buy a ticket and you can see her uh get terrorized for the day and she just relives this over and over and she thinks she's about to die and then they give her this injection that just wipes her memory and she has to wake up and figure out what's going on again.
I feel like we're not that far away from doing something like that, like now.
Isn't that crazy? And the
If
thing
it's
is,
like a, yeah.
like I have a pretty bad memory, but this short story or this like episode has stuck with me. And I'm just like
Hmm.
I think it's because of that reason. I'm like we're in a society right now that I think I think obviously that's like the whole compelling element of Black Mirror is that like
Yeah.
we're like a couple steps away, but this one for whatever reason, like when I tell the story every time I'm just like, "Oh shit, this is kind of too real."
Like we talked about spectacle last time, and I feel like, yeah, like, people do this with celebrities all the time where they're just like enjoying their, downfall, or if they're going through something, they're just like, oh, would love to see it. But it's like people find ways to justify it. So if it's like a criminal, then it's justifiable that we can treat them lesser than human because
Yeah.
they did a quote unquote bad thing.
Like I don't want to toot our own horns, but like so we do have like a loose for the listeners at home, we do have like a loose like agenda or outline that we have, but sometimes things just fit together. So I read this book called The Long Walk. And it is a Stephen King novel. It was actually released in 1979 under his pseudonym Richard Bachman, which I don't know the lore behind that, but he released this novel as Richard Bachman. So this again, this is back in 1979. And it plays on this idea of like a spectacle in this like dystopian future. And like it's a premise that like honestly, I don't he's obviously a writer ahead of his time and whatever, but it when I was reading this, I thought it was like, oh, is this like a relatively recent book, but I figured out it was written in back in the 1970s. But the basic premise of this is that 100 young men enter this long walk, and the premise is very simple. Once the long walk starts, everybody has to walk at a minimum speed, and it's last man standing. The last person gets whatever they want for the rest of their lives. Like they just like they're set. They're like whatever you want in this world you get, but 99 people will die, and
Oof.
people know this. And in this like dystopian future, people are like lined up on this like road, like cheering people on, watching these poor like kids. These are like, I mean, teenagers die. I think like there's like an allegory to like war and like how people were being drafted without whatever, and like, there's only one big hero, but then we lose. Anyways, all of that to say is that like there were so many scenes of like people just watching this literal tragedy. Like I don't even know what to call it, but like these kids, teenagers are walking for a whole bunch of different reasons. People want better for their family, or they want to be, known, they want the fame and all these different reasons, but they know that it's literally 1 in 100. Like no, there's no other outcome other than that. Like you either win or you're dead, and
Yeah.
people are watching this.
Do you remember the first time you told me about this story? Because I suddenly remembered when you told me about this.
No.
It was Halloween last year,
Creepy.
right? Isn't that creepy?
Wow.
Also, there could
Ugh.
be 100 people walking and only
There
one
could be.
make it out.
Lady Gaga wrote Stephen King's book.
Seriously, there could be 100 people in a room and only one of them will
Will
leave,
survive.
will survive and will like get whatever they want, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and 99 will die.
We
Right.
butchered that Lady
We
Gaga
butchered that.
quote.
Lady Gaga, if you're listening, we love you. Let's take a break.
Hey, listener, this is Banana in the future. Just wanted to give you a heads up that there will be spoilers for the movies that we're going to be talking about today. So, if you don't want to listen to any spoilers, then I would suggest that you watch the movie first and then come back and listen to the episode. All right, back to the show.
All right, so let's get into the movie that we're here to talk about. 13B, Fear Has a New Address. 13B is a 2009 Indian movie written and directed by Vikram Kumar. And there's actually two versions of the film, one that's in the Tamil language, and then the other one that was shot simultaneously in parallel that was in Hindi with a different cast as well. And I watched the Hindi version. I I don't know which version you watched.
I think I also watched the Hindi version. Did you watch it on? I think I saw it
Amazon?
on Amazon. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I saw it on Amazon. So I think it might have been the same version. This film is about a family who moves into a new multi-story apartment only to discover that there is a strange curse from the previous family that lived there that this current family is watching through a soap opera on their television. I guess it goes back to the whole spectacle thing that we were just talking about.
Yeah. This was a new to me movie. Even though it was back in 2009, I guess it kind of flew under the radar. I don't know if it ever had wide release over in the States. But when you mentioned it to me, I was like, I kind of went in like without knowing anything, and it was a pretty wild ride. It was a pretty
Yeah,
wild ride.
it was wild. Yeah.
It had a runtime of 142 minutes,
Oof.
which is from all the other movies that we've watched. I feel like they've averaged anywhere between 90 to 100 minutes. So this one was a little bit longer. Uh, but I found it actually pretty entertaining. Like I didn't feel like it dragged too much.
Yeah, I didn't feel like it dragged too much either, and I think it's because of the musical elements that are scattered throughout. In this movie, I believe, if I'm recounting this correctly, there were about three or four, potentially five. Was there five? I think it was actually three.
I think
Three
there's
music
three.
videos. There were three
Yeah,
music videos that were spread throughout the movie.
I loved it.
I loved it too. It was so fun.
Yeah. Admittedly, I have not watched too many like Indian, South Asian, Hindi films or like watch TV shows or anything like that, but I'm assuming this is kind of normal. Like I've seen Bollywood and like how they
Mhm.
use music as like a form of storytelling. It did at first I was just like, "Oh, did the movie end and this go into something else?" But then the actors were like doing some of the singing and dancing too.
So the reason why I found it to be interesting was because of how we have the main storyline that is, the family moves in, they have, they're having a lot of good luck. The sister is like, passing all of her classes and she's doing great. The brother is getting a promotion. Like all of these things are going really well for this family. And in parallel to that, we see another family through the lens of a soap opera on the TV. And I think the reason why I was like, oh, this makes sense to me is because I feel like there are moments where we're watching stuff through the the soap opera, and then there are moments that we're watching the family, like the main family, do their stuff. But then the moments with like the music videos and things, it's like, oh, it's just like us. It's as if they were watching that family through the soap opera. We're watching them
Oh.
as if it was a movie, and it's obvious it's a movie. And so, yeah,
Yeah, because it feels like it's almost like a meta like it's a movie like we're watching a movie of a TV show of a movie of watching the story, which sounds
yeah,
really weird, but it makes sense to me. It's almost just like a grounding point of like, oh, you're also watching this family who's also watching
right,
another family. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really like the camera angles. Like they felt very experimental. It felt very like some of it was very jarring. Like there was this one scene, I think it's like close to the beginning. There's an electrician that goes into, I think actually before the electrician, I think it was the dad who goes into the prayer room and he's trying to like hammer nails into like the
Oh,
concrete.
that was a tense. So yeah, they're trying to set up this prayer room, and I think they were alluding to like, oh, there's like something weird going on because
Mm.
they have this like beautiful apartment, and the last thing to be set up is this prayer room, and they have all of these like ornate paintings and stuff, and everything's on the ground, like nothing could be hung up. And his wife was like, "Oh yeah, we tried to hire a handyman and he couldn't do it." And the husband tries to come in after a long days of work and he's just like, "Oh, I'll do it. I'll go hammer this stuff up and get it up on the wall and finish the prayer room."
And the way that they used like the shots in that room specifically, it looked like from what I saw, they had a camera hanging from the ceiling, but it was literally hanging. And so it was swinging a little bit. So there were moments where like the camera felt like it was like literally swinging like side to side. There were like weird shots where like the camera was like literally tilted and it felt both jarring but fun, like in an experimental way where it's just like, okay, they're just like playing around with like these different camera angles. This is like a horror movie, which is sort of out of the ordinary for like most Bollywood movies. Like most Bollywood movies don't typically delve into horror, so maybe this is a chance for the cast and crew to do something a little bit different.
The tension in that scene was kind of like, oh, okay, I think I kind of get what this movie is now because, like you said, there was like weird camera angles and they were like zooming in and like it's like obviously super close up shot of like him hammering and he's probably gonna hit his finger, but he's like really trying. And yeah, like there were some parts where like it was just like them like showing like a hallway and then like the camera would just like twist and like
Yeah.
twist this way and you're just like looking at it from like askew and you're just like does this mean anything or is this like what is going on and there are a few red herrings too in this idea of like this cursed apartment. So they live in apartment 13B. They
Mhm.
just move in and every day that's the soap opera that mimics this family's watching this family comes on at 1 p.m., which is 13 o'clock. So there's kind of this running theme of like what's going on. And one of the things I wanted to bring up was the red herring of um the blind man and the dog.
I
And
love the blind man.
yeah, it was like the scene where you get introduced to him, and like there's this elevator that all of a sudden has stopped working, and he ominously shows up because he's like, I need to use the elevator or whatever. And you see this interaction happen, and you're just like, oh, what if this blind man isn't real, or maybe he's the ghost of the apartment or whatever. And like the dog is acting a little weird, like he doesn't want to like get too close, and he's like barking, or he doesn't want to go into the elevator next to this other the main protagonist,
Yeah.
Manu. Um, and it turns out he's just a blind man with a dog, and they felt the presence.
Yeah, I love him. He was so fun.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, I felt the same way with like the red herring because I thought that the blind man there was this moment in the story where Manu finds like a box in the backyard. I think it was like in a playground or something. And it's covered in sand and the blind man's dog was like digging at the sand trying to get this box out. But Manu eventually gets the box, opens it and reveals like a picture of the family, or it's like a photo album. It's like, you know, a photo album with like all these pictures of these people who used to live in that building. I think it was like back in the 70s or something like that. And there was this moment where he was just like gasping at one of the pictures, and I was just like, "Is it the blind man? Like,
Who
is
is
he
it?
him?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it's like that one man who wasn't in the soap opera happens to be in the photo album. So like, it's the blind man. Who is it?
The way that they utilized kind of these subplots, but then also like that kind of like central focus is um the group of gals who love this soap opera that gather around the TV. They're like, "Don't talk to me, don't interrupt me. I'm watching my shows," and that's very relatable,
I feel like that's
very relatable.
us.
That's
That's
us.
us right
Yeah,
here, right now.
that's right here. Don't interrupt us. We're doing our podcast. We're doing
Yeah,
our
exactly.
shows. And there was like this kind of comedic element, but it was also like a good plot device to like seed some of these like weird happenings. And it was so interesting because like the women that were watching were just being entertained, and I don't think they put two and two together because they were like watching stuff happen to this family that was happening in real life as well. So I think there's like this fun like perspective of like even if horrors are happening in your life, when you're watching it, it's like entertainment, even though you're living it, and you don't even like when this is an actual like in this movie, they're like we're watching our tragedies and
Yeah.
our whatever happened in front of us. They're still using it as like a point of like, it's 1 p.m. I gotta watch my shows, even if all this other stuff is happening.
Yeah, there is that detachment
Mm.
because you're separated by a screen. So maybe that's like sort of what's happening with them, where it's like we're just watching another family go through this, and you know, it's very different from what's happening in our lives. Uh, I thought it was really interesting. Like it was kind of funny. Like the part where the gals like start watching the show and then there's like true horror, like the bludgeoning and the slashing, like all that murder stuff starts happening on screen and they're just like, "Oh my God, this is too gruesome for us. Like what is going on?" But then it's like at what point? Oh shoot. So we just had a blackout. And lost everything. Um, is this ominous foreshadowing?
This is Spooky Asian Club. Fear has a new podcast.
Oh, we should change that. Actually, that should be our title. That should be the title for
That
this.
that's pretty good actually. They were onto
Yeah.
something with this. No, but seriously, for the listeners at home, I guess there's a 3% chance of a tornado happening in the Seattle area. and it is raining pretty hard around me, and Banana's power just like went kaput.
Yeah, like we're in the woods, so it's like even scared. Oh, I hope my crows are okay.
I
I don't
think
know
they'll
what
be good.
happens.
I
Like
feel
what
like they
happened?
thrive during, I feel like they just let their wings and then they just get carried around. It's kind of like a free ride for a little bit.
But what if lightning hits them?
Well,
Anyway, what were we talking about?
yeah, we were talking about how they were
Mhm.
watching it and how, they're watching parallels of their lives, but it's almost like that detachment of like they're watching it for entertainment.
Oh, I had a question for you. Do you feel like that? Do you feel like you have any media that you consume that's like your own life?
Not off the top of my head, but I do like I enjoy trashy romance or like I don't even know what to call them. Like shows like Love is Blind or Temptation Island.
Ooh.
I love shows like that because like I'm like if I were in that situation, like I always put myself into this media because like these poor people are so desperate for like connection and love. And then like, well,
Oh,
some of them are. And then the other half are just like, I want to be famous. I want to be on Netflix or whatever.
yeah.
So sometimes I watch these shows and I'm just like, is this how people act? And if so, this is why society is the way it is. All of that to say is like, I watch these shows and I'm just like, I would do it differently. I would, but who knows? Love is
Yeah.
blind or not. What about you? Do you have a show that you see yourself in?
I was just watching Million Dollar Secret, which is also a reality television show where someone gets $1 million and they have to hide it from the rest of the people, and the other people are trying to suss out who the millionaire is. And if they suss them out correctly, then they get the $1 million.
Wait, how do you suss them out? They're like, hey, do you want to go buy a YSL bag for the team? Like, how do you? I
Like,
feel like I would be very good at this game. Give
I
me a
feel
million
like,
dollars.
right, yeah. So, okay, so the millionaire, the secret millionaire has to do these like challenges every day. And so I've only seen the first episode, but the first challenge that they had to do was uh she had to go around hugging everyone. She had to hug all the people, like every single person. And so she had to do it in the way that's like very subtle. So no one's going to be like, why are you hugging everyone? This is really
Yeah.
weird. And these are all strangers too. They had just met because it's the first episode. So it's like, what is going on? Why is this person doing this?
I don't know why when you said this is a reality, I assumed that they were like all on vacation and then you would be like ordering stuff off of a
Oh,
menu and you'd be like, who got the extra lobster tail add-on, you millionaire?
no, this is a game show. It's cutthroat.
I love that.
Yeah, but I feel like if we were on a show together, I feel like we would do pretty well.
Until
Yeah.
until we like fell into it too hard and it became too obvious because the power
Yeah.
went to our head. I feel like hubris, we would fall into the hubris category.
And something I've always wondered with game shows like this is like if you're a finalist, right? Say there's like three finalists. Why don't you just split the money? That's $300,000 split between three people. Like,
People are greedy.
why
Yeah.
not? Why not just do it? You know what I mean? Instead of,
I'm into that,
yeah,
but
let's make a deal.
let's make a deal.
That's another show.
Also another show about like the capitalistic hellscape we're in, which is actual terror and horror in our times. Mr. Beast has a show
Oh
where he
God.
uses money to like pit people against each other. So for example, one of the challenges, quote unquote challenges, is there's like let's say $500,000 in the middle, right? And everybody can meet at the beginning and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, let's just split it evenly, whatever,
Hmm.
whatever." Let's elect a leader, and then the leader gets to pick the order of who gets the money, like in what order.
Hmm.
The twist is that they get all secluded away, and one by one, starting with leader number one and working their way down, they get to come out and they get to say how much money they want to take in isolation, and then it takes away from the pot. So, like, for example, the first person could come out and say, I want all 500,000
Oh my
and then
God.
leave none for the rest of the people. But of course, the leader, let's say, comes out and they say, okay, I'm taking my cut, I'm taking $50,000. She goes back in, another person comes out, they're like, I want to be fair, I'm going to take 50,000. He goes back in.
Mhm.
Then, someone gets greedy and someone's like, I want to take 250,000. But then now, though, even though the third person took 250,000 and the other people took their regular share, the fourth person doesn't know like who took that lump sum. Was it the first, second, or third person? So then they're like, well, now
Oh,
I'm worried. What if that happens to me? So then they take more, so you see like people like either stick to their guns or whatever. It's like this weird social experiment with money, and it felt kind of gross watching it.
oh God. This is like stuff that's like on a K-drama and not meant for reality television, but somehow we were just like, hey, let's take it from a horror thriller movie and apply it to
Make it
real
real
life.
life.
But yeah, going back to 13B, uh, something I actually really appreciate about the movie is the comedic elements of it. And it made me feel like it felt more like a real family. And it was very, like, there were such sweet moments. Like, even when, I think her name was Priya.
His wife?
Yeah, his wife with the miscarriage.
Yeah.
Like, even though she had a miscarriage, like Manu was just like, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't care because like at least she's alive. Like, that's all I care about. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, that's really sweet. Like he was like panicking because you know, something had happened. What was it? Like there was some sort of electrical failure or something. And he was worried that she was going to die because the TV show, the soap opera, said that, someone was going to die, spoil like cliffhanger. We're gonna end on a cliffhanger until next episode. You're gonna find out who dies and what happens. He rushes back home just to watch the show to see like if his wife makes it. And his wife is fine, everything is fine. It's just that he lost, the baby or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just like a really sweet moment where it's just like, oh, that's really nice. Like, they're like okay. Even if they're living in a cursed house, at least they have each other.
Yeah. And the way that it's paced and the way that it's shot almost felt like it was a sitcom, which I'm assuming was an intentional choice where it's like episodic and you're kind of getting these breaks in between these like
Mhm.
big moments and then they go back and there's like a good mix. I think what also makes it feel episodic a little bit is that like you kind of get this, it starts off like very happy-go-lucky, almost like
Mhm.
each family member was being introed like a 90s sitcom, and then you kind of get the horror elements of like what the heck is going on. Then you kind of get these like sweet like romance, like, oh, this is like a real family, this is whatever. And then it really, I feel like the meat and bones of it is kind of like this mystery or like this thriller of like what actually is going on. And of course there is kind of like this supernatural element of like this
Mhm.
soap opera being parallel, but then you're like, as we like learn the different layers and like these different players of like who used to live here and what's going on, it's like I was like there's some big twists and turns here.
Yeah, so let's get to the big twist and turn. The killer.
So you think, so Manu sees this like it was like this almost like tragic moment because you see him with this like sledgehammer just like covered in blood and you're like, it was him the whole time. He's gonna murder his family. Like this
Yeah.
is this is not good. But then fast forward, it was the doctor, the
Yeah, it
like
was like the family doctor who was also there when Priya had the miscarriage too. So
yeah,
he was like a close family friend, it seemed like.
yeah. I actually need to go back. But yeah, it
It's a
was like
long movie.
it's a long movie. And I might have lost track of who was real and who was in the TV show. Um, but yeah, it was Manu saving the day, and killing the doctor who had murdered the family before because his brother was shunned by the previous family's wife or something.
Yeah, because the previous family's wife, so the previous family had, um, she was going to get married,
Yeah.
and like she was like a celebrity, like a local celebrity or something. Like she was like a reporter, and because it was the 70s, television wasn't, especially like in that town, I think television wasn't readily accessible, and so she became like a local celebrity, and from what I understand, there was a parasocial relationship with a
Oh,
reporter from the doctor's brother. And so the brother became obsessed with her. There was like a perfect blue moment where he was like, I'll do anything to be with her. Like, stop, don't get married. But she's just like, I don't know who this person is.
yeah.
Um,
She's like, I'm getting married. This is my wedding day. No, because then like because of that kind of like embarrassing moment after he puts his heart on the line, he commits suicide. And that I think that was the
yes.
motive. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So he commits suicide. Then the murders happen from the doctor. So the doctor kills everyone because he's just like, I'm avenging my brother. Like, fuck this family. But then after the murders, there is a brother. The brother was the person who was in the photo albums, and we're all just like, oh my God, who is this guy? There's a lot of ableism, so content warning there. There was a brother who was on the spectrum who was trying to protect like the family, and he was like really distraught from seeing like the bodies of his family members just like laying there. They're all like dead. And he's covered in blood because he's like hugging them and stuff. And so the village is just like, oh my God, like, we saw this guy come in and, murder a bunch of people. And like, first person, the police question is just like, yeah, someone came in and like murdered a bunch of people and like left. And the police are just like, okay, okay, whatever. Like, we'll set you aside. But
Yeah.
second person we question, and the second person that gets questioned is like, no, like the brother did it. The person who's on the spectrum like did it. And they put all the blame on that guy, on that brother. That poor brother was like in jail for like years. That's like
30
30.
years. Yeah. 30,
Yeah.
40 years. Yeah. So he was like
Right.
locked away. And then like the Manu goes and visits him and like he can't communicate, but he's obviously very angry and he can't like he's mute and he doesn't really use words, but he's just like you can tell that he's trying to say something. He has a lot of emotions, whether it's like stay away or like I'm angry or whatever. So I think the movie wanted us to still keep believing, oh, this person did it because they were on the spectrum or they have anger issues or whatever.
Mhm.
And then there's like this weird supernatural scene where Manu sees this premonition that he's gonna kill his family. So then he's like running back towards the house, flip the script, it's the doctor, and the doctor is about to murder everybody, but then the family comes out. Do you remember this scene? Like each family member comes
Yeah.
out and it starts like warping their faces to like the old or the family in the show, which was the family that the doctor murdered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was wild. There are like a lot of like very camp moments in this movie.
Yeah.
But like I feel like the story with all the twists and turns, I was like invested. I was really invested in this family. Like I
Yeah.
wanted I wanted them to have a good time. Um and at the end, like after the doctor gets killed, which like whatever. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Um they Manu's family like takes in the
The
brother
brother.
the
Yeah.
other from the other family, the brother that was like in jail for so long or in asylum or whatever for so long. And he's just like, did you see that one scene where I think it was like Manu and like his brother, they were both just like, hey, like whatever you want, you can have now. Like you're with us. And he starts crying. And I was like, oh my God, that's really
I
like,
know. The ending was super happy, right? So they're like, again, it kind of like mimics the beginning where they're showing each family member like living their life. This new family member gets integrated in, and then you think it's over. He steps into the elevator. It works. It's great. Then he gets a phone call, and it's the doctor. Dun dun dun. So I think the implication is that the doctor
Yeah.
now haunts the phone and technology. Uh,
Yes.
yeah.
That's the technology piece we should probably talk about as well
Yeah.
because one of Priya and wait, actually I don't know if it's Priya Manu's kids. Who are the kid who do
They
the
might
kids
have
belong
been
to?
it might have been an uncle because I feel like were you gonna mention like the photos?
Yeah, the photos with the swirly face filter.
Yeah, I think it might have been like their niece or nephew that are running
Okay.
around. Yeah.
Yeah. So the nieces and nephews are running around, and then the nephew is like taking Manu's phone and like taking pictures of him. And when he takes like selfies of himself, like the kid takes a selfie of himself, things are fine. But it's only with Manu who gets like the swirly face filter.
Yeah.
And that's where it goes back to like, the whole, we were talking about the ring before, we were talking about the grudge, photo manipulation and things like that. Like it was definitely of its time.
I didn't think they needed it because well, yes and no. I mean, it was a weird, creepy moment, and like, is the kids doing it? Do the kids have a connection?
Mhm.
These pictures were like kind of creepy because like the face is all distorted. Um, but I don't know if it needed that. And like um even with like they didn't for me, the Ring and Juon, they were very focused on technophobia. Whereas
Yeah.
I feel in this one, the themes of it was more like family and potential like generational or like not even familial generational trauma, but like the the people that were here before you leave an impact. I feel like that was the theme.
Yeah.
Even though, technology was involved with like the TV, um, it didn't feel like the TV or the the tech of the times were the bad guy.
I'm gonna throw out an idea, and I think that technology
Yeah,
and the TV were red herrings for being the bad guy as well. So we have the
for
blind man,
sure.
the brother from the first family or the 70s family, and technology. And the reason why I think that is because the brother who was on the spectrum, he like broke the TV and he was like using a sledgehammer to like break it. And anytime he saw a TV, he would like freak out and like try to destroy it. And so it's like, is that another red herring? Like, is the TV bad as well?
Okay, so now you got me thinking. So the TV, so nobody else, so there was like another reveal where like Manu was on the phone with the ladies around this 1 o'clock time, and they're like, "Oh, we have to watch this, whatever." And then
Mhm.
he passes this this establishment that has a whole bunch of TVs, and he realizes that what they're seeing at home is not the programming that's happening elsewhere.
Yeah, that was a creepy moment.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is like the TV was almost like a conduit for this family to be able to communicate. So realistically, I think they were like trying to I don't know, mirror this life and like give hints, maybe like they were almost like looking out for this family, like something bad's about to happen. And then maybe the brother from the first family also was able to use it as a conduit, and he couldn't handle knowing that his family was gone. So maybe that's why he destroyed the TV.
Yeah, because also the original reason why I mean, it's not really a reason, but it kind of is a reason where the sister got killed. The original family's like sister got killed was because of the parasocial relationship, where it's like, the doctor's brother was just like, "Oh, I saw this woman who's a reporter on t television, and now we have a connection out
Yeah.
of nowhere." And
Yeah.
so
And I
it's
must go
like,
profess my love.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, fucking nerd. And so like, I can't believe he would think that. Then again, it was the 70s. Things were different. Actually, no, things were not
No,
different. Things
nothing
are
is
even
different.
worse now.
Exactly.
It was like it's like predicting the future.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of like Perfect Blue, kind of exactly the same as Perfect Blue. Maybe that was why the brother like decided to destroy the TV because he was so upset with like the TV's impact on, all these people around him. So, and this was also the first time that they had that TV. Like I think that was the first time they had like revealed a television in that family. So maybe that was just like another touch point where it's just like, oh, TV is definitely bad because it's done all these terrible things for us.
But the
Yeah.
real bad guy is just a horny man.
It was, yeah.
Hate that. Hate that.
Yeah.
No,
Red
incels.
herrings.
It's literally incels the
Oh my
movie.
God, it is. Oh my God.
Oh
So
my
true.
God.
That's so true though.
Dang.
Wow. We're
The
so
pit.
smart. Oh
We're
my
so
God.
smart. Let's take a break. So now for the part of the show that we call Slaughterboxd. It's our little game show where we've tasked each other to find some funny, weird, and potentially unhinged views on Letterboxd, and we have to guess what star rating is left with that review. So feel free to play along at home. Remember, the star ratings can go from half a star all the way up to 5 stars. And again, I feel like not to try to metagame, but we always get so close with these half stars.
We do.
So if you think it's a half star, maybe make it a whole star. Or if you think it's a whole star, make it a half star. Or if you think you might think it's a half star, keep it a half star because it might be a half star.
Just don't trust anything when it comes to this game. All right. So the first review I got was from Jenna. And their review was this needed like five more musical numbers, actually.
Okay, agree. It seems like they did enjoy the movie, but they wanted more music, unless they were like taking the piss out of it, which who knows. Um, I actually kind of liked it because, like, honestly, it was a longer movie, so I was like, I'll grab a snack. Let me get some water while this
Mm.
movie's going. So it was like a little break for me. Does Jenna think the same? Because 5 more musical numbers would probably put this at the 3 hour mark, which is wild. I'm gonna say that this is a 2.5 star review.
So close. It's 3 stars.
I was gonna say 3, but I went to half. The next one. This is from Maxinate Max Maz Mazik Mazin Kaiser. Mazin Kaiser. This one's from Mazin Kaiser. And they wrote, according to Newton's law, for every action, there is an equal and opposite telenovela.
Oh my God. That summarizes the movie very well, actually. I feel like quantum physics was definitely a large theme for this movie as well. We just
Yeah.
didn't have time to cover it.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna say it's a joke comment, but it also feels like this person really enjoyed the movie. I'm gonna say 4 stars.
This was a 2 star review.
Wait, what? I'm so confused.
Yeah. Mazin Kaiser, what do you want from us?
What? I have one. You're gonna laugh. You're
Yeah. Give it to me. Give it to
I
me.
saw it and I was just like, I have to put this down. So this is from RP. They say chicken 69.
Not Chicken
That's
69.
it. That's all they said, chicken 69.
I don't even know what that means.
I think they
Uh,
heard our podcast and they were like, this will mess with them.
was there is this a reference to the movie that I'm not getting?
There is no reference to, I don't think there's a,
It's
was
just
there a
chicken.
chicken? I don't know. I don't remember if there was a chicken.
I don't think there was a chick. I mean, I don't think there was food was not a theme in this one. Okay.
Yeah.
They just are the number one proponents of Slaughterboxd. Okay.
Yep. Quick editor's note from Marcus Mays. He wanted the audience to know that Chicken 69 is a play on the famous dish Chicken 65, which still doesn't really have anything to do with the movie, but hey, everyone should try out Chicken 65 if they get the chance, especially if you like spicy food. If you don't, then maybe don't try it.
We did say potentially unhinged. Chicken 69 is like they took the effort to log on to Letterboxd
Yeah.
after they watched this movie to leave a review. So I definitely think it's higher than a 1 star. On the flip side, maybe they thought a funny comment like this on a horror movie would get them some interactions because they're craving some likes on the platform. But I don't think it's a
Oh.
5 star review. I'm gonna say this is a 3.5 star Chicken 69.
This is gonna be wild, but it's a 5-star review and a heart.
And a heart.
Yeah, this person really liked this movie.
Dang, a
And they wrote
five.
Chicken 69.
Okay, last one. This was from Chi. Chi says, "Don't make a superstitious bitch watch this because they're going to start drawing parallels between everything."
That's what we're doing.
That's what we're the superstitious bitches.
Yes, we are. We should just rename this podcast to Superstitious
Superstitious
Bitches.
bitches
Yeah.
merch. Superstitious bitches is actually. Anyways, thank you, Chi. You get a free shirt if you're listening to this.
Yeah, right? Um, okay, so don't let any superstitious bitches listen to, or watch this. Well, I think I think it's an okay review. I would say that this is like a I could take it or leave it. Maybe I have a lot of friends in my life who are superstitious bitches, and I always have to calm them down when we're going into the elevator to get to the 13th floor. And this is just like a chore for me. So while I enjoy the movie, I don't want to go all in. I'm going to say 3.5 stars.
So close. It was a 4 star review.
So close this time around.
So close. Honestly, Superstitious Bitches is.
I love that.
I love how it rolls off the tongue. It's also kind of a
Yeah.
tongue twister. Thanks for listening to this episode of Spooky Asian Club. Don't forget to like, rate, and subscribe, and share this with someone who's a superstitious bitch.
Until next time, don't let anyone interrupt your soap opera time.
Bye.
Bye.
This episode of Spooky Asian Club was edited by Marcus Mays. Music was provided by Artlist. Spooky Asian Club's logo was designed by Andy Crisp, and the sustained life of this podcast is made possible from our creepy little Patreon members and listeners like you.